Welcome to the Sunday morning simulcast with Rom Wills. The nature of criticism. You know what? I saw a quote on my IG. I believe it came from the recently transitioned Nipsey Hussle. And in general, I'm paraphrasing. It said, people who have less than what you have will always be quick to criticize you, but people who have more than you have won't criticize you. Right? And I was thinking about that. You know, we all get criticism. We all get criticism. Sometimes to our face, sometimes like if you're a person that is a content creator, you get somebody, well, you should do this or you should do that. I'll use myself for an example, because one thing, I'll just admit it, I don't take criticism well from somebody who can't show me that they can do whatever I'm doing better. And usually when you do get that criticism, it's never in a constructive way. It's always in a bad way, or a way to demean you. And even when they say it, even when they try to make it sound like a good thing, they say, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And usually right there, I usually ignore that person. Because, see, it's like this. If you're going to get criticism, somebody's going to tell you, that's not constructive unless they can tell you how to do it better specifically. Or if they can tell you in such a way, or they can show you, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm doing this better. Now, I've received on a personal level, I've received constructive criticism from people who were doing the same thing, but it was always a sense of, well, here's a way you can do this, or this is how you can make it better. And usually they can show their own example in what they're doing. And even then, they really don't do it as a criticism, but it was like, oh, it's usually like, well, you know, I've been doing this before, doing this a long time. Let me give you a tip. They'll say it in such a way or do it in such a way you're not getting it. But then you got some people who will criticize, but they haven't done it. It's like the person, like, say you wrote a novel and they say, well, I would have did this, I would have did that. And it was like, oh, okay, well, show me a copy of your book or your experience maybe editing novels that would suggest that you know what you're talking about. And see, what that really is on them, they're not trying to be constructive. Because, see, they'll do that publicly. See, if somebody who has some legitimate criticism, usually they haven't done anything themselves. And they wouldn't do the same thing you're doing. So what you do, you know, like a person with legitimate, they'll take you to the side and say, hold up. I'm seeing this and I see where it can be better. And this is what I've done. This is what I do for a living. Or, you know, I know some people who might do this. Let me put you in touch with them because I think you have real potential. Because, see, they'll do it in such a way constructive. Or even if they're not doing it, they'll say, well, this is how this is coming across to me, you know. But then you get other folks, you know, they'll be quick to. They'll say, well, yeah, you should do this or that. But I'm saying, okay, well, why don't you show me? And that's very important. It's very important, like, when you listen, because, see, some people, they'll do stuff or they'll try to do it in a passive aggressive way to say, you know, they trying to really break you down. And they'll say, oh, well, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm like, you ain't sorry. Because that ain't the way you do it. You know? And that's one thing I learned from my grandmother, peace be unto her. She said, you know, you got an issue, just take them to the side. Tell them. They'll probably appreciate it. You know, because you sincerely trying to help. And see, one thing, understand with the critic, too, because it's not necessarily about you, but sometimes it could be about jealousy. It's about what they wish they could do. And it's like they see you doing it. It's like, oh, they could have some level of jealousy and, you know, just... you know, they want to break you down. They want to bring you down to their level. They jealous that you went out and did the thing that they were thinking about doing, or that you getting more attention than them, or something like that. And it's just like, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Because sometimes, I'll give you an example. This wasn't necessarily criticism, but I peeped what this person was trying to do. It was at a book fair, outdoor book fair, Harlem book fair, in fact. And got in an argument with somebody. He kept saying something, and he said, well, I'm not in your book. And I'm like, well, no, not necessarily, but this is what, but I said, I'm not in your book. I'm like, sir, I don't know you. And he was doing all this stuff, and yeah, he almost got to the point where we were about to come to blows. But then he said something that this always stuck with me to this day. He said, yeah, I got you upset. You won't be able to sell any books. And no, he did have me upset, but I kind of got over it in like 10 minutes. I was just like, are you kidding me? And then I thought about that. Understand, you have some people out there, they're very nature because of who they are and their own disappointments in life. They're not constructive with anybody. Now, if the person was a constructive person, go back to that next scenario. The person wouldn't be worried about if they weren't in that book, or I didn't describe them in particular, because they would have had enough common sense. At best, in fact, the only detraction or any problem I might have got is if the person, not even a problem, but maybe the person might have been somebody who's done vending outside before. And even though I had considerable experience at that point, they might have had an insight on how to present it or something. And they might say, hey, you might need to present it this way because I've done this and it helps. That would have been a different thing. See, understand, when you look at criticism, ask yourself, is this thing actually to help me be better? Or is it try to break me down in a subtle way? Like I said, when they try to break you down, they'll do it in like a passive aggressive way. But then when you look at it, it was like, was that necessary? Is that the feeling you got from it? That they were trying to help, or they just trying to just take a shot but disguise it. People like that, you have to keep them out of your circle. They're not helpful. But the constructive criticism person, they the ones, the constructive criticism person is the type who might actually try to help you in such a way. Understand that. And there's nothing wrong with that. They trying to help. The other person trying to break you down. Or like I know of cases where somebody might have shared their work or writing or song with somebody, and the person is like trying to hurt them. It wasn't a constructive thing. And all that is this person couldn't write anything or sing anything or do something, Whereas the constructive person will say, hey, you know what? This is how you can make it better because, and they'll do it off their own personal experience. See, that's another thing. You have people criticizing things and they have no idea about it. They have no idea what they're talking about, or they'll come up with something that's not totally in there. Like that shouldn't have been an argument, like the gentleman that I was about to get into it with at the Harlem Book Fair. This dude talking about something, and I'm just like, dude, all I'm saying, I'm saying general stuff. I don't know you in particular. But he wanted to start something, but his thing was to be a disruptive presence. And like I said, but I learned from that. He was disruptive for 10 minutes. I couldn't sell something for a whole 10 minutes. So it was just like, probably needed to sit down. It's kind of hot out there. But, you start understanding people and you start understanding who to listen to. Because that's the first thing I listen. If anybody has anything to say, and this is something any type of creator, not necessarily content creator, needs to know. Look at what they're doing. Look at their work first. Look at their work first. If they could be, and we don't have to be that. They could be criticizing something you weren't. Look at them first. Just be like, really? And then also ask yourself the motive. What's the real motive? Like I say, a lot of people jump on you just because they don't have the guts to do the same thing. So look at their motive. Look at what they're doing. And then if they, like I said, if they the type who's saying, look, I've been in this industry, I've done this, they're going to help. They ain't going to just criticize. It might not even come off as criticism. They're going to tell you how they can help you. They're going to be offering to help. So understand that. So anyway, something to think about. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.